whether you're starting a business in a pandemic or not, I don't think that really matters. Maybe you need to be a bit more careful. But for any potential business owner, you need to educate yourself in a few very basic things. So I think number one, you need to have you don't need to have strong foundation, but you need to have experience in finance, in business management, in sales, in marketing, and in operations for your specific area of interest. And if you talk about finance, right, I think the very basic thing you need to have a grasp on is bookkeeping. That's important, right? But you also need to understand the concepts of, for example, your balance sheet or your cash flow statement. The reason I'm saying this is because when you run your business, right, typically for the first year, you're funding it yourself, unless you're lucky, right, you get investors. For the first year, you're funding it yourself. But what's going to happen if you fast forward 1 year, right, is you're going to have to go to banks or financial institutions to get leverage, right, to get additional funding. And typically when you go to them, they have a certain set of questions for you, like what's your balance sheet look like, what's your cash flow on a month-to-month basis looking like. So you have got to pay attention to this, and not because if you don't have good financial statements, when it comes to the point in time you want to expand your business, you're going to realize that it's hard to get capital from banks or any other financial institution. So your financial sense is important. The second thing the second functional area that you want to at least have some experience in is really in sales, right? I mean, if you expect that your business is going to grow by hiring somebody to make 1,001 cold calls for you, and you're not prepared to do it yourself, then I think it's a little bit hard, right? Because you have got to be in the mix and you got to be hunting the business, because these clients that you secure now when your business is a bit smaller, right, are going to grow if you treat them well. So finance is first, second is sales. Be prepared to do it yourself. Typically what I would suggest is, as a business owner, you handle the finance stuff and you handle the front end sales stuff yourself. And the administrative role in between, you probably get some help from. Third thing is be prepared to do the marketing to a certain extent yourself. You know, like most people may be a little afraid to talk about Google ads or Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or whatever, right? I think it's important to have an understanding how they work, because you can save a fair bit of money if you do it yourself. And it's not rocket science, you know. There are really good courses online, and it won't take you a year like doing a degree, or 2 years, whatever. It take you like a few days, and you can experiment, right? Try, right? So once you control the sales, the marketing aspects, or the finance part, right, I think you're generally set. I'm assuming that obviously if you have a business idea and you want to roll it out, the operational part will be something that you already kind of know, right? So I think the point what I'm trying to say is, number one, know the functional areas, but in specific those three. Make sure your supply chain, if it's an actual goods, it's a sound supply chain. And once you know the basics and the fundamentals, you basically reduce the number of variables that you don't know. So you can spend the time to figure out the huge variable that you don't know, which is your customers, right? Because you start off a wonderful idea. Okay, I'm going to do co-working spaces at Hone. But when you actually go and market it, you realize, hey, damn it, people don't want it because of this and this reason, right? So reduce your variables so that you can figure out the biggest variable out there, which is your customers. And that should be your priority: customer acquisition and customer growth, right? So I mean, for any potential business owner, these are the two things that I would tell them. So to recap, understand your key functional areas, know those three very, very well, and spend more of your time on the variable that you don't know, which is your customer. I think that's the key thing. And then once you understand your customer, you can map out the whole customer journey and touch points to your business, and make sure all those touch points are as good as they can be, right? I mean, back end, if you're struggling, it's okay, because the customer doesn't really see that, right? Because over the long run, you can probably sort it out, right? But just make sure that once you have these two areas sorted out, focus on the customer journey, every single touch point that the customer has, and then really work on it, right? Because I think what people tend to see is that they like to be associated with businesses that are always improving and evolving, right? If you never change, and then they just look at you as this business that just is stagnant, right? And yeah, so that's what I would suggest.